Redmond for Redmond's Wrap Up, brought to you by FHT Sports. Tonight is the night, Monday, January 7th. We had the national championship game up here in the Bay Area. A lot of people are talking about the location and this and that. What happens is you run out of things to talk about, right? And we will talk about the attendance issues. And turned out it was more than full. Turned out it had more than enough exuberance. There. I mean, they had when the San Francisco 49ers play there. There was a Super Bowl there. And people talk about, oh, this bad field. And I spoke to a guy who was in the Super Bowl and his uncle. It was fine. Would it be my first choice to have the national championship there? Probably not. But it's a great facility to have the game. Why not, right? Why not? And anyway, so let's talk about the absolute beatdown that Alabama took at the hands of Clemson. Now, what happened? What happened with Clemson? It's not a thing that you believe your press clippings. It's much worse than that. First off, you have all the. Again, I know I get on the talking heads a lot, and people are like, well, that's because you want to be a talking head. No, what I want to do is I want to look for a little bit of just some thinking that isn't out of the box just to be out of the box, but just stuff that's not written from a cue card. Or from, there's so many good people out there, don't get me wrong. But when you look at some of the talk up at this game, you had to shut it off by last Tuesday. I was all excited, pumped up for the game, and I know a lot of other people were, but after a while, how can you just stop kneeling at the altar of Saban? Oh, listen, look, what's he talking about today and what's going on today? Well, look at the success. It's funny. If Saban was named LeBron James, people trash LeBron James all the time for losing in the finals. Well, I'm sorry, but, Nick, you lost in the last couple of championship games. Your team wasn't ready for what happened. I'd love to dissect this game, and I will. You were an absolute disaster with the Miami Dolphins. A disaster. Now, don't get me wrong. Lou Holtz was a disaster with the Jets. Some people are more focused to be a college coach, and that doesn't make him a bad person. But I'm like, wait a minute. Notre Dame had a very good team. Look what they did to Clemson. We'll talk about that. Look what Clemson did to them. We'll talk about that later. And you have all this time to prepare. Alabama struggles sometimes in championship games. You knew this was going to be a game. And you knew that the way that Dabo Swinney, approaches these games, he's going to be fast, he's going to be loose. Sometimes it was too loose, but it worked out wonderfully. You have to be fast and loose when you're starting a freshman quarterback, freshman wide receiver. True freshman, not redshirt. And it's just amazing what happened. First of all, I'm a big Tua fan. If you watch my vlogs here on Redmond's Wrap Up FHT Sports, you know that I'm a big Tua guy. Still am. There's no but, however. You hear these people, oh, this guy's great, this guy's great, this guy's great. And then they either do one or two things. They immediately jump off the bandwagon when there's another shiny object that they can latch onto to get clicks. Or they become too encapsulated with that person that they brought to the dance. And, between the two, I prefer the latter. Because you saw something in this person originally. So now, it was funny because as I'm prepping, I'm looking at what some of the other people are talking about, and it's immediately like, Clemson, the great. But you didn't think they deserved to. You knew they deserved to be here. You didn't think they had a shot. I was just watching some gentleman, and it was like the best they can do is maybe cover the spread. We have Serge, the hockey guru, who is amazing with covering spreads. That's not my game because I played the game, I coached it at the collegiate level, and I keep bringing it up because I don't care about the spread. I'm not, but again, I don't say that any ill will toward the spread. I think it's awesome that people do it. But my job, the way that I look at it, is analyzing the game, analyzing what's going on, different things. Now, let's talk about Tua's first interception of the two of them. It seems to me that he got hindered by the blitzing by the blitzing linebacker. And people aren't talking about two other things happened. People talk about how the defensive back jumped the route. He absolutely jumped the route, and he did. But who was Tua throwing it to? Was it the first receiver or was it the second receiver? Because he put it kind of in between. He rushed the throw. He felt a little more pressure that was there. And listen, especially as a lefty, right? They weren't even talking about that. He's a lefty. He opens up his hips. He's got a good view. But for some reason, he was more concerned with the blitzer. And he threw that ball a little early. And he went to the house. But you know what? He came right back. This is what I love. He's one of my favorite players in the NCAA. I think he should come out as soon as he can. Tua is going to be a dramatically good, very good NFL player, in my opinion. He has some of those basic skills. Tonight wasn't his night. And it's funny, I was watching the game with my daughter, and who, by the way, is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to college football. Thank you. We're not up to Lawrence yet, my brother, but you're right, But what you're going to do right now is you're not going to wait to draft Trevor right now. You're going to have to, if you need a quarterback, and when Tua comes out, you're going to have to pick him up in a year or two. So, but yeah, Trevor is, people said this about Todd Marenovich, but he was a space cadet, and I say that, and it probably wasn't his fault with the way. But when you talk about 6'6", 215, was in high school last year, and that's another vlog for another day. This whole they can't come in as a freshman and in the NFL. Sure they can. You see it happening now over and over and over. You see it in college, big programs, over and over. When you have skills, you have skills. And when you're learning from a young age how to read a defense, how to have the moxie to be able to run out of containment, like Trevor Lawrence did, good things happen. And boy, he dropped that ball in that bucket, didn't he? He when he had to put some zip on the ball, he did on those crossing patterns. Tight end kind of came out from the right side and scraped down where the linebackers vacated their spot. Nobody picked up the linebacker. Bam, Lawrence hit him right on the nose. But back to Tua. So what happened with the second interception was probably his worst throw all night. It was a really bad throw. And I don't know why the announcers were saying, yes, he does, 6'6", 215, very, very good, very, very good. Prototypical. Well, if you're looking for somebody, that's who you're looking for. Besides, he's got a great, looks like he has great sensibilities, well, kind of that he stopped running, because that's what I want to look at again, because right now it looks like an overthrow, right? It looked like an absolute sideshow overthrow. It looked like he was a little, again, feeling the pressure, throwing off of his back foot, off the heel of his back foot, which is going to make you off the ball. And then it looked like the wide receiver either stopped or gave up on the ball. There they are, sitting in the cover two, playing center field. It was just pitch and catch. And then my thought is, how are you letting this guy run back 40-something yards? He's absolutely between pretty much near the hash marks. He's in the middle of the field, and you let him run back 40 yards. Nobody's popping him legally. Because the worst case, if you stop him down there, it's just a glorified punt. Now, I'm not saying that Alabama would have came back, but I found Saban panicked. Saban panicked because he kept going for those and fourth downs in the middle of the third quarter, even the beginning of the fourth, where you're just down by 3 scores. Now, that's a lot, but what you do is you take your points, then you either onside or you kick it deep, and you hopefully can hold them. Now, they haven't been able to hold them all game, but you haven't been able to execute on third down either. When it was down just 3 scores, I'm like, this is still a game. We've seen it all the time. Heck, we saw that in the NFL, right? Didn't we, ladies and guys? We saw it in the NFL where the Chargers, they didn't do proper clock management, and that doesn't mean draining the clock. I think for those of you who've been watching me long enough, I don't mean drain the clock with little ISO handoffs or things like that, but rather longer cadences. Drill the game clock down when you have the possession of the ball. You still do some things, but don't snap the ball like the Chargers did stupidly. And I try not to use that word, but it was absolutely stupidly what the Chargers did by late in the fourth quarter. They punted the ball with 11 seconds left on the play clock. Why would you do that? Why would you not kill another 8 to 9 seconds? It just makes sense. It's not even next level thinking. But why would you do that? So you're giving a gift to the team that's trying to come back with 11 seconds. And it almost came back to bite him. So back to this. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence was an absolute rock star. Yes, I agree, my brother. Yeah, I agree. It was very dumb. And I tweeted about it immediately. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, like, this is the the curse of the Chargers. Because they always do things to give away games. So let's get back to just kind of wrap up before we segue into the 4 games of this weekend with Alabama. So after that second interception, I was like, they still have a chance. You know, they have that first, they get the ball back in the second half. You know, they could do some things there, make the game a little closer. Cleveland's defense was absolutely nasty. They were looking like a drunken sailor finding the person who took their money. I mean, it was an absolute beatdown, pure 6 brawl kind of thing. But there was still some things you could do. Absolutely, I don't think they used the flats enough. I just don't. I don't even some bubble screens. You know, I thought they were playing way too lateral, way too. Now you might say, wait a minute, Darren, on the first pick 6, kind of that's what that was. But really, he got rid of that early because he got a little intimidated by the blitzing linebacker. Also, you have to continue to do those things. You can't just scrape it because one bad thing happened. You know, it's like you fall off a horse, you got to get right back on it. You know, a person fumbles the ball, you're giving them the ball back. Most of the times, anyway. So, and this isn't a rah-rah thing. I thought the run, listen, if your defense can't stop, great point. If your defense cannot stop the other team, then what you do is drain the clock. You run the ball. You let your defense, get some wind. Maybe work on some things. Look at some of the photographic evidence that you have, and what they're doing. Why are we letting this guy release? What is the line doing? Nobody talks about that. Like, what is the line doing to protect? Are they moving over? Are they playing man to man? Are they, on the offensive line? Are they doing a waggle? What's going on? So you're right. So what happened today? Today it was just a beatdown. It was an absolute beatdown by Clemson. And I laugh because of all the talking heads. They're supposed to hate Notre Dame, and you heard me go off on Notre Dame. How there were open windows there, and Ian Book just could not get the pass there. And that nobody's going to respect Notre Dame in the Final Four game until they get a little nasty. But here's the truth. Notre Dame let up 30 points against Clemson. Alabama let up 44. And by the way, before anybody gets a little crazy, I'm not saying that Alabama would lose to Notre Dame. Not saying that at all. But I hope that they're held to the same sort of trashing standard that Notre Dame is. This won't happen because lazy people just like to abuse Notre Dame without actually thinking about things. Not everybody. And the beatdown was 27 points. Clemson beat Notre Dame by 28 points here, or vice versa. So pretty even there. And I just sort of bring that up for the fact that Clemson by far is the best team in college football by far. Not even close. Alabama's number 2, and who cares about the rest? Really, who cares? I mean, I shouldn't say that. I say that because Fresno State being in the top 25 is important to us here in the Valley. And so that's pretty exciting as well because Tefford has done a great job. So let's talk about Wild Card Weekend. I called that the Colts would beat Houston. I took a lot of flack for it. And again, this is me patting myself on the back. It's not what this is about at all. But you just knew that Andrew Luck was going to come in, and part of what I'm about to say is going to sound kind of like I'm making fun, but it's the truth. Houston struggled on the road against the Jets. And they had to win late because the Jets have no defense. And I'm like, wait a minute, Indianapolis has a very healthy Andrew Luck. Why would they not just go in there? And by the way, they can run the ball. They got the running back now is like a little Edgar James. That's what it reminded me of watching him play. Oh, you're not kidding. You are not kidding. Derek Carr and Devontae Adams, what a great combination they were to watch. That team I thought was the most talented Fresno State team of all time. But I think this one's actually better. I think this was actually better on both sides of the ball. This team would never lose that game against San Jose State that would have put Fresno State into the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago. They would never lost that game. And I'm a big Derek Carr fan. Once again, Derek Carr blocks out what people say and had a very, very good year on a woeful Raider team. Didn't turn the ball over. And of course, nobody wants to talk about that. Because people rather talk about failure than about success. People rather just look for the most easy thing to talk about than things that are successful. So, and then Devontae Adams is the number one, Yes, he was. Absolutely. It's very, very interesting how he was on Gruden's show and did so well, and now they're working together. And Devontae Adams is the number one Green Bay Packer wide receiver right now. I think Keyshawn Johnson is going to do very, very well. I think Keyshawn Johnson, in a lot of ways, is a clone to Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, a little more height, could do some other things. Neither one of them are speed burners. But Keyshawn Johnson, man, you throw it anywhere near him, he catches it. He catches it, and he gets great yak yards. And he very, very, well, Packers, that's one of my bucket list places I got to go. I need to get to Lambeau Field, and I love to just to get there early and just sit there and hear the ghosts of all the former players, not just the Lombardi players, but all of those guys, because there's a lot of generations there. A lot of wonderful memories were made at Lambeau Field. Even the name Lambeau Field, and right in the middle of the town, right in the middle. It's not out, out by some egress somewhere. It's, some interstate. So, anyway, I knew Andrew Luck was just going to beat Houston. I mean, and you look at the things, and what's the one thing that I focused on? I said Houston, they got Watson, they got Clowney, who got hurt again. He's like Glass Joe from the Mike Tyson boxing game. Was that their DBs were suspect, and we saw that. And they were cheating in, Andrew Luck was going over the top. So let's talk about the Dallas-Seattle game. Like a lot of people thought I was a bit of a knucklehead for saying that Dallas was going to win. And you heard me use the word rude. It's not a 48 slip. I'm not a Dallas fan. Have lifelong season tickets to the Jets from 1978. I also liked the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s. That was probably the greatest team of all time, in my opinion. And then when I moved out here, I became a Raider fan as well. So Jets and Raiders are my team. So, full transparency. Full transparency there. But here's what I knew was going to happen. One, it's not personal, but I know when in doubt, Pete Carroll will make the wrong decision. And yes, well, that isn't that funny? Because there's a saying in middle level management and beyond is, like, heat and pressure does one or two things. It creates a diamond or breaks you. And what Jason Garrett did is say, wait a minute, I got Ezekiel Elliott who could throw the ball. Who could run the ball with anybody. This is the NFC East. And by the way, that's another thing. For those people who say that the NFC East is an easy division, I'm sorry, but you know what? Not many teams left in the NFC. And the East has two of them, Dallas and Philadelphia. Now you want to talk about a laughingstock? Think about the AFC East with the Little Sisters of the Poor that New England Patriots play. New England Patriots, I think they play, the Little Sisters of the Poor, the I Want to Take a Nap, oh, please don't hurt me, is this flag football? And I think the other team is, hi, I give up. And those teams are called the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets. They pretty much can slate in 6 wins every year. All they have to do is win another 4 or 5, and they get home field advantage. And again, nothing against the Patriots. They're a very good team. But that's the truth. NFC East was a tough division this year. If you didn't show up against Washington, they'd beat you too. So in this game, You know, I think the NFL is going to have to restructure the division because they are in balance. They are in balance. And and we'll do another vlog on that. But they really are. And maybe you can explain to me again because I'm not the smartest guy in the world, right? My initials are DR, but I'm not a doctor. But maybe somebody can help me and figure out how Dallas is in the East. It's like in hockey. You have Buffalo, you have Toronto, you have Montreal, you got Florida. How did that happen? How do you skip over Pittsburgh, New York? So it's just unbelievable. Anyway, so I said in my vlog that Dallas was going to be ahead by 8 to 11 points, and it might get close, but you never fear, and that's exactly what happened. I never feared that Seattle was going to win that game. You just kind of had the feeling that when all was said and done, it was going to work out the way that it was. So let's talk about the Chargers in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson. Look, Watson couldn't hit the side of the barn. If he was in the barn with his passes, they were terrible. But he looked like Johnny Unitas compared to Lamar Jackson. Yes, they should have won the Super Bowl. Don't even get me started on that. And Atlanta should have won their Super Bowl, but they decided to just take a nap on the field instead of running and throwing the ball and using clock the right way, but not draining the clock, going for points. Don't even get me started. Anyway, Lamar Jackson. They just might. Lamar Jackson went almost 2 hours of actual clock time. You've probably seen this by now, some bar and somebody else's point, without throwing a completed pass. You have a guy named Flacco who won a Super Bowl. Yes. Venomous Duo, thank you very much. You know who Lamar Jackson is? He's the Wildcat. Remember the Wildcat for like a couple of seconds when you went and got a soda or a coffee or a beer or a whiskey and you came back and the Wildcat was hot for like 30 seconds until they figured out how to do it. And they play in the East in the winter. Nothing against the guy, but you know what? He's the Wildcat. You shut that down, absolutely they're going to read him. You know what they're doing right there. It reminds me of Slash for the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 10. I forget his name. He did some things and it would put him in from time to time, and that was great. But if you need big time yardage quickly, and don't talk to me about how the game was closed, 23-17. First of all, he rolled out Cordell Stewart. Thank you very much, AT, for the cause. Thank you. Exactly right. If they used him like they used Cordell Stewart, he's a weapon. We got to watch it. Well, he's a quarterback. Keep him in the pocket. He's going to run. Okay, great. What are you going to run, the veer next? What are you going to run, the wing T? What are you going to run? The two-back option? It's just, if you fall behind, you're not going to be able to catch up. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, it was close. It was 23-17. Yeah, let's talk about it. He rolled out, and he got a fluky pass that was completed, and he threw a touchdown pass. Big deal. He was pathetic. Neil O'Donnell laughed at him. He was pathetic. You had a quarterback that won a Super Bowl, in 2000 from Fresno State, who he got rid of because supposedly couldn't throw the ball. Let this guy run 80, 90, 100 yards. He can't throw the ball. He just can't. And the thing that bothers me is if he's your guy, God bless, that's great. Look, you're in the playoffs. Who am I to speak, But when you're down by 2 or 3 touchdowns, you got a Super Bowl winning quarterback on the bench, Harbaugh, you're full of hubris. It was terrible what you did. But I'm sorry, you're smarter than all the fans, your fans that were booing you, Harbaugh. I mean, here's the thing. Thank goodness your brother is such a lousy coach at Michigan, or else you'd be the worst Harbaugh coach there is. How you let, he's going to get banged up. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, And by the way, you hurt Lamar Jackson. You don't help him by keeping him in. Anybody that says, well, you keep him in so he learns, no, they're cowards. They're absolute cowards. Bring it. Bring it. Tell me why I'm wrong. But bring your facts. You tell me again how you need somebody. If you look at Flacco's playoff record, and I'm not saying you should have started Flacco. I'm saying somewhere in the middle of the third period, bring him on. Well, Jackson almost brought him back. No, he didn't. Chargers gave it away. Again, why are you punting the ball with 11 seconds left on the play clock? Why are you giving people 11 seconds? And then you had late hits, defensive penalties, and they were able to come back. Flacco, he knows he's going to be loosey-goosey, right? He knows that this is his last game. You know what? I can't say you're wrong. You're taking the long view. I'm looking at it, as a coach, trying to win a game. Because those men that are on the sideline with me, some of them are not going to be on the team. They're not going to be on the team. Because of attrition, your backbenchers, and I don't mean that as derogatory as it sounds, but your backbenchers play, 2 years, 3 years, maybe? Some of your older players who are even starters or backups, this might be their one shot. And because you're full of yourself, Harbaugh, you don't put in a guy that won a Super Bowl? Look at his playoff record. Of course, that's what you do. Of course. Because even his nice completion, and God bless, he rolled right, threw back against the grain, which you're not supposed to do. But you know what? If we're going to praise Mahomes for doing it, we got to praise Jackson. And the guy jumped early, and the guy caught the ball, and rah. Okay, great. But if you're going to rely on that, you're not going to get very far in this world. And then the last game I want to talk about is the Philadelphia-Chicago game. And, absolutely about that. Because you still have a quarter and some time to make up for that if you don't get it. And you got to play the field position game. You have to play the field position game. That's what I thought the Chargers were doing pretty well early. And quite frankly, who did that well too? Because Watson can't throw the ball. Watson, I shouldn't say can't throw the ball. He can throw the ball. But if you do some things with Watson, he doesn't check down. He keeps looking deep. So it's almost like he throws the ball too well in reverse. Because I'll give you a great thought on that. Look what happened tonight with Lawrence. And I mentioned the play earlier, and I forget when it was. But he had two receivers going deep. One ran a post. One did about 15 and out. And the tight end does a drag underneath. The middle linebackers clear out. And this is a 19-year-old kid. And you know what he does? He looks one way and drops it down, hits the dragging tight end in the numbers. I like very much Watson. If he was my starting quarterback on my team, I'd be, let's go. But he couldn't throw the ball on Saturday. Last game, Philadelphia and the Bears, and the game was what it was. So you had two very flawed teams. Khalil Mack is a very, very good player. Why are you putting him on offense when nobody thinks he's getting the ball is beyond me. When you know that points are a premium, why are you muddling around with that? It's like one of the biggest sins I've ever seen in NFL football. And I believe him when he says that he didn't know. But how do you not give the ball to Walter Payton around to give it to the fridge in the Super Bowl? So why do you got Khalil Mack doing those things? And quite frankly, that's exactly. But see, thank you, my brother. That's exactly right. He just wins. And people rely way too much on stats, and I'm going to end on stats. When people say, "Well, look at the stats of QBR," and anybody tells something about QBR, they're just disarmed, because QBR alone means nothing. It was a made-up stat by ESPN, and what they try to do is show, round things in square holes, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to go back for a second to the Lamar Jackson. Call what you want. I'm like speechless. And I'm going longer than 30 minutes. My apologies to anybody who wants me to leave. Passer rating is very good. QBR's absolute trash. Absolute trash because it doesn't put things in perspective. The Colts went to the Super Bowl. I don't. The 2 point. It's just disaster. Why are you doing that? Just bring your bread and butter. Bring your A game. Let's go. Let's go. Because here's the thing. If I'm a savvy football player and I see the best defensive player, arguably, though I think the guy on the inside is just as good as Mack, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we got to make sure that he doesn't set himself on fire. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, but I do believe that it's just another stat because everybody likes sabermetrics and they like data and they like to sound intelligent. So I just finished a book actually on that you might find interesting. That talks about that kind of thing. But anyway, back to this. In 1968 Super Bowl, you had Earl Morrall, who was a backup on the Colts, and then Johnny Unitas came in. He then played for the Dolphins. By the way, the Dolphins, who went undefeated, had quarterback, and it was Bob Greasy and Earl Morrall. And if one wasn't doing well, you still had your starter. You brought the other guy in. So it's okay in Super Bowls, but not because of Scary Harbaugh. He's going to leave Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winner, unbelievable player. QBR. We're going to talk QBR sometime. That's a great thing. I'm gonna write that down literally. We'll talk QBR because it's a made up nonsense. It means nothing. I'll give you a great example. If you went by QBR, look it up. Terry Bradshaw's QBR was mediocre at best. He threw interceptions. Yeah, Willie. Absolutely. It's just another thing to grade on. Terry Bradshaw, Kenny Stabler, Roger Staubach. Oh, he's going to sign one of these old guys that everybody back then. No, this was before QBR. They knew that if they forced a throw deep and it was intercepted, it was like a punt. Who cares? I have a great... The Fresno Monsters talking WWE. Love it. So what they knew was that an interception at the right time, they would go deep. An interception meant, all right, it's a turnover. It's a punt. I got a great defense. Who cares? QBR takes points away from you because you did something wrong. Which that in itself makes that stat absolutely useless. It's an absolute sideshow. It's a circus clown without a smile. Exactly. So, everybody, so that's what we have here. The thing I was going to end with was that be careful when you hear the talking heads talking just stats. Thank you, Atheist Man. And you guys are great tonight. We're going to do this again tomorrow night, and every night at 10 o'clock. Obviously we'll put this up. People can review and watch. And you guys make this thing amazing, right? You really do. I mean, I'm just saying that. And bring in your ideas for topics. Because right now we're going to talk QBR. We could talk draft. We could talk about, I just remember him, they would, look, I grew up watching Joe Namath. Right? I grew up watching Joe Namath. And Joe Namath would do the same thing, man. Why just punt the ball? I'll go deep and hopefully I'll get a pass interference, right? I'll get a defensive holding, or maybe my guy makes the catch. But a QBR makes that negative. Absolutely stupid. Absolutely. So if somebody relies on QBR, they're unarmed. They're one-dimensional. They don't know the game. So, and I'm not saying that I do, but you guys are great. I want to thank you. Again, this is Darren Redmond for FHT Sports. Please subscribe to all of our social media sites. We got a lot going on this week. I'm going to be here. Hail Mary for INT is a negative. Depends. Depends. At the end of a half, who cares, right? The end of a half, who cares? You know, or if you're losing anyway, you gotta do the Hail Mary. One of them said that, go, oh, I hope it's a touchdown, or they drop the ball so it doesn't hurt my stats. No, I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw it either to the flag or to the back of the end zone, and we're gonna hope for the best. Try to catch it when it's on its arc. Kind of hope that one of these defenders tip it up. Yes, it's funny. And at one time, we're going to talk about being in the press box and some of the stuff that goes on there. Aaron Rodgers, he is the best. Him and Roger Staubach. If you've never seen any of Roger Staubach, oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something. There was a play, Willie. There was a play that Phil Simms did, 4th and 1. This was the year they won their first Super Bowl against Denver. And again, I'm a Jet fan, but I remember this like it was yesterday. It was 4th and 1. Everybody was crouching up on the line. I forget who they were playing. They were either playing the Eagles or Dallas. And they used to put Dallas in their dark uniforms because it was always considered bad luck for them. Phil Simms went deep. He threw like 60 yards because the DBs took the play off. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. So, anyway, we're going to get moving now. We'll shut this down for the night. Thank you so much. Let me know what you want to talk about, guys. And if you need me to follow you on social media, let me know where you are. Consider it done. And let's have this nightly talk, 10 o'clock PST. God bless you all. And listen, to everybody out there, whoever you are, whatever you do in life, you got a friend here. Enjoy. Let's enjoy the community that is sports. Let's have a great time, and thank you so much. Good night now. Hey, let's talk draft tomorrow night. We'll talk Aaron Rodgers and the draft. That's what we're talking about tomorrow night. Aaron Rodgers and the draft. Write that down, and we'll talk about one other topic. We'll wait on QBR.